Okay, let's unpack this. We've got a fantastic deep dive ahead, looking at something truly foundational to how care is delivered in our modern world.
Yeah.
The healthcare landscape, as we all know, it's constantly shifting, but lately it feels like it's undergoing a truly rapid transformation.
Oh, absolutely. The pace is really picking up.
We're talking about these massive, undeniable trends, right? Like an aging global population, which, puts increasing demands on our healthcare systems,
Mm-hmm. Huge pressure.
and also the ever-evolving expectations of patients themselves. I mean, people are becoming more informed, more connected, more proactive about their own health journey.
That's a really key point. Patients aren't passive recipients anymore. They expect more engagement, more data.
Exactly. And right at the heart of this transformation, we find these groundbreaking technological advancements.
Right.
And the core question we're exploring today is, how are these innovations profoundly reshaping one of the most vital roles in patient care, that of the certified nursing assistant, or, the CNA?
It's a great question because CNAs are so fundamental to bedside care.
Totally. Our mission with this deep dive really is to explore how innovation and technology are absolutely not replacing the crucial human touch in CNA care.
That's critical to state upfront. It's augmentation, not replacement.
Right. Quite the opposite, in fact. It feels like they are empowering CNAs to be more efficient, more insightful, and more patient-centered than ever before.
Yeah, giving them better tools to do what they already do so well.
So we're going to unpack how their daily responsibilities are evolving and critically how their capabilities are expanding, in ways we might not have imagined even, say, a decade ago.
It's a significant shift.
Think of it as a major upgrade to a role that has always been, well, absolutely essential.
It's a critical point to establish right from the start, isn't it? This
Yeah.
isn't a story of, like, technology replacing human empathy. It's a story of powerful augmentation.
Yeah.
When we look at the trajectory of healthcare, we see this constant underlying drive towards greater precision, better patient outcomes, and ultimately more personalized attention.
Right. That personalization piece feels huge now.
It is. And what we're witnessing now with the seamless integration of technology is CNAs being equipped with an entirely new suite of tools that allow them to fulfill that vision with, well, remarkable effectiveness.
So they're moving beyond the old ways.
Exactly. They're moving beyond traditional, often reactive methods into a new era of truly proactive and deeply informed care. It's a shift from just checking a box to acting on real-time intelligence.
That's a powerful distinction you're making. From reactive to proactive care. That really sums it up, doesn't it?
I think so. It captures the essence of the change.
And to truly illustrate this transformation, let's dive into some of the most tangible changes we're seeing in their daily workflow. Because, we're moving far beyond just manual vital sign checks and those sometimes hard to read handwritten notes.
Oh, definitely. Paper charts are becoming a thing of the past in many places.
Right. We're talking about a comprehensive technological integration into the daily routine of CNAs. A massive leap, really, from solely relying on those traditional, often time-consuming and sometimes prone to error manual methods.
Yeah, the potential for transcription errors alone was significant.
For sure.
Hmm.
This isn't just about adding new gadgets. It's about fundamentally reshaping how a CNA monitors, understands, and crucially, responds to a patient's needs.
And that response time can make all the difference.
Yeah.
What's truly fascinating here is how these devices, which, maybe were once seen as consumer gadgets, things for fitness buffs.
Like smartwatches and stuff.
Exactly. They're now providing this continuous stream of subtle indicators, allowing for an incredibly proactive approach to patient care. Take wearable health technology, for instance.
Okay.
We're talking about smartwatches that can continuously monitor heart rate, track activity levels, and even, in some cases, detect irregular heart rhythms like AFib.
Wow.
Then you have things like continuous glucose monitors, CGMs. They provide real-time blood sugar readings for diabetic patients without all the painful finger pricks.
Which is huge for quality of life.
Absolutely. And these devices are becoming increasingly commonplace, not just for personal use, but as legitimate, highly integrated healthcare tools. CNAs are leveraging these now, especially in settings like home health or long-term care, for remote patient monitoring.
So they're getting data constantly.
Pretty much. They get direct, continuous feeds of vital data that paint a far, far more complete picture than those episodic checks ever could. The check every 4 hours or whatever.
Right. It fills in the gaps.
Totally. These wearables capture a wealth of specific data points.
Mm.
Heart rate variability, which can indicate stress or illness, blood pressure trends over time, not just a single reading, oxygen saturation
The
levels,
two, too. Yeah.
right? Overall activity levels, are they moving less than usual? And even detailed sleep patterns. Some can even do fall detection.
Fall detection is huge, especially for older adults.
It's massive. So imagine a patient's sleep patterns suddenly shifting from their established baseline, or maybe a slight but consistent drop in oxygen saturation gets flagged immediately, not hours later during the next routine check.
So the system alerts the CNA.
Yeah, or the nursing team.
Yeah.
This real-time nuanced data allows for incredibly proactive interventions. It alerts CNAs and the broader care team to those subtle changes in a patient's condition that might otherwise go unnoticed.
Or be discovered much later.
Exactly. Or only be discovered during a scheduled, much less frequent manual check. For example, maybe a sudden decrease in a patient's mobility, just how much they're moving around in bed, detected by a sensor or wearable. Could prompt a CNA to check in, maybe identify early signs of weakness or dizziness, and potentially prevent a fall before it happens.
That makes so much sense.
It truly means they can check in before a minor change escalates into a serious issue. It could potentially prevent falls, complications like pneumonia from immobility, or even more severe health events. This constant, non-invasive surveillance allows for a level of preventative care that honestly was once unimaginable.
It really changes the game from putting out fires to preventing them. Okay, so wearables are one big piece. What else? You mentioned sensors.
Right, smart beds.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. These aren't just beds. You're saying they're like intelligent safety nets, seamlessly integrating with the CNA's workflow.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
We're talking about smart beds and associated sensors that are now a common feature in many advanced hospital rooms and increasingly in long-term care facilities, too.
So not just in the ICU anymore.
Not necessarily. These aren't your grandmother's old crank hospital beds. They're equipped with an array of sophisticated sensors. They can track a patient's position, their movement within the bed, sometimes even measure respiration rate through mattress vibrations, and crucially, their sheer presence in the bed.
Presence, like if they get out.
Exactly. This is a profound game changer for CNAs, fundamentally transforming aspects of their safety protocols and workload.
Okay, how specifically?
Well, think about preventing pressure injuries, bed sores. It's a massive part of a CNA's responsibility, requires constant vigilance.
He's right, turning schedules and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These smart beds can actually alert CNAs when a specific patient needs to be repositioned, based on analyzing pressure distribution or simply the time elapsed since the last turn, rather than relying solely on those timed, often generalized, manual checks for everyone on the unit.
So it's personalized turning alerts.
Pretty much. This targeted alert system means CNAs can prioritize their interventions precisely where and when they are most needed. Less guesswork, more targeted care.
That sounds much more efficient.
It is. And beyond that, they're critical for monitoring elopement risk.
Elopement, that's when patients try to leave.
Right. When patients, particularly those maybe with cognitive impairment like dementia or confusion, might attempt to leave their bed or room without permission, putting themselves at risk, the system can immediately alert the CNA if a patient is trying to get out of bed unassisted when they shouldn't be, based on their fall risk, or if they've actually left the bed entirely.
Like an alarm goes off at the nurse's station.
Or sends an alert to their mobile device, yeah. This continuous, intelligent monitoring ensures overall patient safety, providing this layer of protection that simply wasn't possible before without, constant one-on-one supervision, which isn't feasible.
Right. Staffing doesn't allow for that.
Exactly. These beds become almost an extension of the CNA's watchful eye. They allow them to ensure safety without needing to be physically present in that room at every single moment, thus freeing them up to focus on direct, hands-on care for other patients who might need, say, help with feeding or bathing.
It's truly like having an extra pair of vigilant eyes in every room. That's incredible.
It really is. And, while automated vital signs machines aren't entirely new in themselves, we've had electronic thermometers and blood pressure cuffs for a while.
Sure.
What's truly transformative now is their deep, almost invisible integration into modern healthcare systems. We're talking about machines that don't just take a reading, display it, and require someone to write it down.
Okay.
They directly upload that data into the electronic health records, the EHRs, often wirelessly, with virtually no manual intervention required from the CNA.
So no more writing it down and then typing it in later?
Precisely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's all about shifting the CNA's focus, moving them away from mundane, repetitive data entry towards truly being present with the patient, engaging in meaningful interaction. It fundamentally changes the time economy of their day.
I can see that. Documentation takes up so much time.
It does.
Yeah.
This integration significantly reduces the time CNAs spend on documentation. Think about it freeing up countless hours potentially that were previously spent manually writing down blood pressure, pulse, temperature, respiration rates, oxygen saturation, and then transcribing them into a paper chart or even into an older, clunkier computer system.
Yeah, that double entry.
Right. Now, that information is captured and transmitted automatically, often wirelessly, in mere seconds. And
Mhm.
just as importantly, this dramatically minimizes the potential for human error.
Oh, good point. Transcription mistakes.
Exactly. Errors that can creep in during transcription or manual data entry. It ensures greater accuracy and reliability in patient records. Think about it. One less chance for a misplaced decimal point, a misread number, a transposed digit.
Which could have serious consequences.
Absolutely. Ultimately, this frees CNAs to dedicate more time, more attention, and more direct personal interaction with patients rather than being bogged down by these administrative tasks.
So more time for the actual caring part of the job. That's the goal. They can spend those precious minutes talking to a patient, listening to their concerns, assisting with their personal care like bathing or dressing, or simply offering a comforting presence, reinforcing that vital human connection that is, truly at the heart of their role.
It's a profound recalibration, as you said, of how a CNA's time is spent, moving from the clipboard to the bedside.
Couldn't have said it better.
Okay, so that seamless data flow you mentioned, from bedside devices directly into the patient's record, that leads us perfectly into our next monumental area of transformation, the shift from those traditional paper charts to electronic health records, or EHRs.
A massive shift.
This has undoubtedly been one of the biggest, most impactful changes in healthcare in decades, I think. And CNAs are truly at the forefront of this adoption, aren't they? They're the ones inputting so much of that bedside data.
They really are. They are key players in ensuring this digital revolution benefits patients and the whole care team to its fullest extent. So when we talk about streamlined documentation, what does that look like in practice for a CNA using an EHR?
Well, it means CNAs now input patient data digitally, often right there at the point of care using tablets, laptops on wheels, or even handheld devices.
So no more running back to the nurse's station to chart.
Ideally, less of that, yes. Think about it. No more deciphering hurried, often illegible handwriting.
Oh, I've seen some doctors' handwriting.
We all have.
Ugh.
Or, waiting for a physical chart to be physically moved from one department to another, which could potentially delay access to critical information. It's all right there, accessible instantaneously by authorized personnel.
Huge difference in speed.
Huge. Records are instantly more legible, they're better organized, searchable even, and immediately accessible to anyone on the care team who needs to see them. The night nurse picking up the shift, the attending physician doing rounds, the physical therapist checking progress.
So everyone's looking at the same information.
Exactly. This doesn't just improve efficiency. It drastically reduces the risk of misinterpretation or errors that can arise from illegible notes or misplaced paper records.
Makes sense.
And here's a really cool advancement that I think fosters the human element, something you might not expect with technology.
Oh.
Some systems now offer voice-to-text functionality. So a CNA can actually document their observations and patient interactions verbally, dictating directly into the system, while maintaining vital eye contact and engagement with the patient.
Oh, wow. So they don't have to turn away to type.
Exactly. A wonderful example of how technology can actually preserve and even enhance the human connection, rather than detract from it. It allows CNAs to capture important details while still providing that comforting presence, that active listening.
That's fantastic. I hadn't thought of that application.
It's pretty neat. This really raises an important question. How do healthcare teams truly collaborate efficiently, especially when a patient might be under the care of multiple specialists across different shifts, different departments?
Yeah, communication breakdowns are a huge risk.
They are. EHRs provide that foundational platform, that shared space, with CNAs as absolutely key contributors of frontline information. These systems facilitate seamless, essentially real-time communication across the entire healthcare team.
So not just doctors and nurses.
No, everyone. From the CNAs themselves to nurses, doctors, specialists like cardiologists or pulmonologists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, even social workers or dietitians involved in the patient's care.
Okay.
Because all the information is centralized and updated instantly, CNAs can quickly share vital information, Things like subtle changes in a patient's condition they observed, detailed progress notes about their mobility or appetite or mood, or specific patient concerns they've heard directly with everyone else involved, regardless of where they physically are in the hospital or clinic.
That eliminates so many phone calls and waiting games.
Precisely. The impact of this is profound. It fosters a much more coordinated and truly collaborative approach to care. Imagine a doctor needing to quickly check a patient's recent vital signs trend, or their fluid intake and output before morning rounds,
Yeah.
or a nurse coming on shift needing to see if a patient had a bowel movement during the previous shift, and what the CNA observed during personal care. With EHRs, that information is instantly available. It leads to better informed decisions and a more unified, consistent care strategy.
So the whole team is literally on the same page.
Literally. With immediate access to the most current patient data, this drastically enhances patient safety by reducing those dangerous information silos. And it ensures the overall quality of care delivered is consistent and high standard across shifts and providers. It sort of democratizes access to information, ensuring everyone involved has the insights they need to act effectively and proactively.
So drilling down, what does this all mean for the patient experience, right? And for the CNA delivering that care at the bedside? It sounds like it means safer, more tailored care because the CNA has all the critical information at their fingertips.
That's exactly it. Through this real-time information access directly at the bedside, often on a mobile device, they no longer necessarily need to leave the patient's room to hunt down a physical chart or call another department to clarify something.
Which also means more time with the patient.
Right. CNAs now have immediate access to a patient's comprehensive medical history, their known allergies critical for safety current medications, and their specific individualized care plans developed by the nursing and medical team.
That immediate access seems absolutely critical.
It is, especially in preventing errors and enabling highly personalized care. For example, before assisting a patient with feeding, a CNA can quickly double-check the EHR for any dietary restrictions, swallowing precautions noted by speech therapy, or recent changes in their diet order. Or, before assisting with mobility, getting someone out of bed, they can review the latest fall risk assessment, recent physical therapy notes, and any specific instructions for safe transfer techniques.
So they know exactly what that patient needs.
Yes. This comprehensive knowledge empowers CNAs to make more informed decisions about the care they provide in that exact moment. It leads to safer interactions, avoiding allergens, using the right transfer technique, prevent potential adverse reactions or injuries, and ultimately allows for highly personalized care that is directly tailored to that individual patient's unique needs, history, and current status.
It's about proactive care rooted in immediate, comprehensive understanding. It really transforms the CNA into an even more informed and effective caregiver, doesn't it?
Absolutely. They become crucial nodes in the information network, both inputting and utilizing data for better care.
Okay, let's shift gears a little. We've talked a lot about tech inside hospitals and facilities. What about care extending beyond those walls?
Yes. Telehealth and remote patient monitoring, or RPM. This is another huge area where technology is fundamentally expanding the reach of care.
Especially for home health, maybe.
Exactly. It's particularly significant and, frankly, really exciting in areas like home health services and the ongoing management of chronic diseases, things like heart failure, COPD, diabetes.
Conditions that need constant watching.
Right. These technologies allow healthcare providers, including CNAs in certain roles, to extend their reach beyond physical proximity. They can offer continuous support and monitoring to patients wherever they are, often in the comfort and familiarity of their own homes.
That sounds like a huge benefit for patients.
It is. It bridges geographical divides, helps patients in rural areas, those with mobility issues, and it bridges physical limitations too. It brings care to the patient rather than always requiring the patient to physically come to the care setting.
And CNAs are involved in this too.
Definitely. CNAs can play a truly vital and sometimes overlooked role in this expanded reach through things like virtual check-ins and direct patient support via telehealth platforms.
So like a video call with the CNA.
It could be. They can be the essential front line of a telehealth interaction, especially for setup and basic guidance. This might involve guiding patients on how to properly use the remote monitoring devices like a blood pressure cuff that syncs to an app, or a pulse oximeter, or a smart scale.
Making sure they're using it right.
Yes, ensuring they are set up correctly, troubleshooting basic technical issues that might prevent accurate data collection. Sometimes it's as simple as, is it charged, or are you wearing it correctly? It's about ensuring that technology actually works for the patient, not becoming another source of frustration.
That tech support piece is important.
It really is. But it's more than just technical assistance. CNAs can also provide essential education on basic health practices during these virtual check-ins. They can reinforce hygiene protocols, maybe discuss diet modifications based on a patient's chronic condition, or answer questions about general wellness and self-care.
So, reinforcing the care plan remotely.
Exactly. Imagine a CNA doing a quick virtual visit with an elderly patient living alone, maybe checking in to ensure they're managing their wound care properly as instructed, or simply reminding them about the importance of staying hydrated, especially if they have heart failure.
That could make a huge difference in preventing problems.
Absolutely.
Mm.
This is particularly beneficial, as I said, for patients in rural areas who might face significant travel barriers to get to in-person appointments, or for those with mobility issues that make clinic visits really challenging.
Yeah, getting out of the house can be a major ordeal.
It can, and it's also incredibly useful for patients requiring ongoing support for chronic conditions. These virtual check-ins help bridge those geographical and physical gaps, ensuring consistent care and education even from a distance. Ultimately, this helps prevent hospital readmissions, which is a major goal.
So it's an extension of their compassionate care, just delivered differently.
Precisely. Into the digital realm. And this isn't just about collecting numbers passively. It's really about CNAs being the eyes and ears in the patient's home environment, even remotely. Translating that raw data that comes in from devices into actionable insights for the broader care team.
So they're analyzing the data too.
In many RPM roles, yes, they're the first line of review. CNAs are absolutely crucial in actively monitoring the data that flows in from wearable devices and other home health equipment like smart scales or blood pressure cuffs. They're not just passive recipients, they're actively looking for trends, for deviations from the patient's baseline. They become quite adept at spotting the signal and the noise amidst all the data points.
Okay, so what do they do when they spot something?
Well, their application involves reviewing daily reports or dashboards, identifying any significant changes or alarming data points, and then promptly reporting these findings to the nursing staff, the RN case manager, or other members of the care team according to protocol.
Can you give an example?
Sure. It could be a sudden spike in blood pressure readings over a couple of days for a patient with hypertension, or maybe an irregular heart rhythm detected by a wearable device for someone known to have atrial fibrillation, or perhaps a consistent pattern of low blood oxygen levels overnight for a COPD patient.
Things that need attention quickly.
Right. Furthermore, CNAs often play a vital role in ensuring patient compliance with their care plans in these RPM programs.
How so?
Well, if a patient isn't consistently using their monitoring device, maybe the system shows no readings for 2 days, or if their readings suggest they aren't adhering to a prescribed regimen, maybe their weight recorded by the smart scale is steadily increasing because they aren't following dietary advice.
Yep.
The CNA can follow up, maybe with a gentle phone call, offer support, see if there's a problem, help them troubleshoot the device, or perhaps gently remind them and encourage them to recommit to staying on track with their diet or medication.
So a proactive check-in?
Exactly. This proactive oversight is really fundamental to effective chronic disease management and maintaining patient well-being at home.
Yeah.
It often catches issues before they become emergencies, requiring an ER visit or hospitalization.
That makes perfect sense. And building on that remote support and the power of RPM, CNAs are also proving pivotal in something else. You mentioned medication reminders and education, right?
Yeah.
Using these telehealth platforms.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we know it's a huge challenge for patients, especially older adults or those managing multiple conditions or complex regimens, to consistently stick to their medication schedules.
It's a massive problem. Non-adherence to medication is a leading cause, maybe the leading cause, of worsened chronic conditions and preventable hospital readmissions.
So how can CNAs help with that virtually?
Through virtual interactions, CNAs can help with this absolutely crucial aspect of care. Their application here involves more than just setting an alarm on a patient's phone.
Okay.
They can proactively contact patients, again, maybe a quick video call or phone call, to remind them about upcoming medication schedules, ensuring they take the right dose at the right time. But they often go a step further, providing basic medication education.
Like what kind of education?
Simple, clear explanations. Explaining why a particular medication is important, reinforcing what it's for, maybe reviewing common expected side effects to look out for versus red flags that need reporting, or even just how to properly store the medication.
Practical stuff.
Very practical. Imagine a CNA virtually walking a patient through using a new insulin injection pen for the first time after they get home from the hospital, or explaining the importance of taking their blood pressure medication every single day. even if they feel perfectly fine at that moment.
Yeah, that feeling fine trap is common.
It is. This direct, accessible support, even if it's virtual, can have a significant impact. It demonstrably improves adherence to medication regimens, which, as we said, is a massive factor in managing chronic conditions effectively and preventing those costly, disruptive hospital readmissions.
So ultimately, it contributes directly to better overall health outcomes for the patient. They get the full benefit of their prescribed treatments and hopefully remain healthier and more independent at home.
That's the aim, yes.
Okay, this is fascinating. Now let's talk about a technology that often feels a bit more futuristic, maybe, but it's one that's still in its relatively nascent stages for direct CNA application, but holds truly immense transformative potential for their future roles. I'm talking about artificial intelligence, or AI.
Ah, yes. AI. It's definitely generating a lot of buzz, and for good reason.
While it might still sound like something out of a science fiction movie for direct patient care, its applications in healthcare are rapidly becoming a reality, aren't they? And it seems CNAs stand to benefit significantly, seeing their capabilities amplified in ways we're just beginning to understand.
Absolutely. What's truly fascinating here, I think, is the power of AI to fundamentally move us from reactive care dealing with problems after they arise to truly proactive, even predictive, preventative interventions, all guided by deep data analysis that humans alone just couldn't do.
Predictive, how does that work?
Well, AI's ability to analyze vast amounts of patient data is really groundbreaking. Imagine algorithms sifting through years, decades maybe, of anonymized electronic medical records, lab results, vital signs, trends from monitoring devices, medication histories, even patterns of activity for thousands, even millions of patients.
That's a scale humans can't manage.
Not even close. AI systems, particularly using sophisticated machine learning models, can do this instantaneously. They can identify subtle patterns, complex correlations, and hidden trends in that massive haystack of information connections that even the most experienced human caregivers, nurses, doctors might never spot on their own.
Okay, so it finds patterns. How does that help a CNA on the floor?
Well, for CNAs, this relevance comes in its potential to predict potential health deteriorations or specific risks, like readmission risk, with remarkable accuracy for individual patients under their care.
Seriously, like it can flag a patient who's likely to get worse.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
For example, if an AI system analyzing real-time data flags a patient showing a specific subtle combination of vital sign fluctuations, maybe a slight, steady rise in heart rate,
Yep.
combined with a small drop in O2 sat and decreased activity levels, and maybe cross-references this with their history and medications, it might predict an increased risk of developing sepsis or having a fall within the next 12 hours, or maybe predict a high likelihood of hospital readmission within 30 days for a heart failure patient.
Wow, that's like a crystal ball almost.
Sort of, but based on data, not magic.
Hmm.
This allows CNAs and the broader care team to intervene early, to focus their attention, maybe increase monitoring, implement preventative measures, often before a crisis point is even reached.
So you act before the fall, before the sepsis gets bad.
Exactly. It shifts the paradigm from reacting to problems as they happen to proactively preventing adverse events before they even escalate. This kind of predictive analytics empowers CNAs to focus their attention and skills on those patients identified as highest risk, precisely when they need it most, allowing for targeted, timely, and ultimately potentially life-saving interventions.
That's incredible potential. What about more mundane tasks? Can AI help there too?
Yes, definitely. And this might be where CNAs see the impact more immediately in their day-to-day. Imagine a world where the repetitive paperwork, the endless tracking of linen or supplies, the often frustrating process of scheduling shifts just disappears, or at least is largely handled in the background with efficiency and precision.
Okay, you have my attention. Tell me more.
That's what AI is promising to help CNAs achieve, giving them back more time for what they do best, which is that direct, meaningful patient care and human connection. AI-powered tools have the potential to automate many of those tedious administrative tasks that currently consume a significant portion of a CNA's valuable time and energy.
Like what specifically?
Well, for instance, think about scheduling staff. AI could potentially optimize CNA shifts based not only on staff availability and requests, but also factor in predicted patient acuity levels on different units, forecasting busier times or identifying areas requiring more support based on patient needs.
So smarter staffing.
Potentially, yes. It could also revolutionize inventory management for medical supplies. Imagine systems automatically tracking the usage of gloves, wipes, linens, basic supplies on a unit, predicting future needs based on patient census and trends, and even automatically reordering items as stock runs low.
No more hunting for supplies.
Exactly. Ensuring CNAs always have what they need readily available at their fingertips without needing to spend time physically counting items in supply closets. And it could even assist with the initial documentation of really routine observations, things like basic intake and output totals or meal consumption percentages, maybe even transcribing simple spoken observations, taking that repetitive burden off the CNA while ensuring consistent, accurate records.
That adds up to a lot of saved time.
It really does. The impact on CNAs is potentially profound. By offloading these administrative duties, it frees up their valuable time and cognitive energy. It allows them to dedicate that reclaimed time entirely to direct, meaningful patient interaction, providing comfort, offering support, performing skilled care tasks. It allows them to truly focus on the human element of care, which is usually the reason they entered the profession in the first place.
Giving them more time for the why of their job.
Precisely. Now, if we connect this to the bigger picture, looking further out, it suggests a future where CNAs are even more empowered with immediate evidence-based insights right there at the point of care. Almost like having a highly intelligent, experienced co-pilot whispering in their ear.
Okay.
This brings us to the future potential of AI and actual clinical decision support, tailored specifically for CNAs. Now, this is still somewhat on the horizon. We need to be clear about that, but we can certainly speculate on AI's future role here.
Speculate away.
Imagine an AI system that, based on the real-time patient data it's getting from wearables, smart beds, the EHR, combined with a vast, constantly updated database of medical knowledge and best practices, could offer CNAs real-time, evidence-based recommendations for basic care interventions.
Suggestions for what to do.
Exactly. For example, if a patient's vital signs or their movement patterns trigger a certain risk alert for pressure injuries, the AI might instantly suggest a specific repositioning technique known to be effective for that patient's condition and body type. Or it might recommend monitoring closely for a particular symptom, like confusion, based on their medical history and a new medication they just started.
So it's augmenting their judgment, not replacing it.
That's the key distinction. It's absolutely not about replacing the CNA's judgment or their foundational training and assessment skills. It's about profoundly augmenting it, providing helpful prompts and reminders based on best evidence. It would further enhance their ability to provide precise and effective care, ensuring consistency across shifts, helping them adhere to the latest evidence-based best practices, and ultimately making them even more skilled and confident in their daily tasks. It's about leveraging collective medical knowledge and immense processing power to support the individual CNA at the bedside, leading to even more optimized and safer patient outcomes.
A very powerful potential tool in their toolkit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's switch gears again from the somewhat abstract world of AI to something very tangible and increasingly used, virtual reality, or VR. Because this, I hear, is truly revolutionizing CNA education and ongoing skill development.
Oh, absolutely. VR in training is a game changer.
This is where learning moves beyond just reading textbooks or practicing on static mannequins into something incredibly dynamic, truly immersive, and allows for hands-on practice without any real-world risk.
Precisely. Immersive simulation through VR platforms allows CNA students and even seasoned professionals needing refreshers or learning new skills to practice a wide range of essential tasks in a remarkably safe yet highly realistic virtual environment.
What kinds of skills can they practice?
Are sorts of core competencies. Think about it. They can repeatedly practice patient transfers, learning how to safely move someone from a bed to a chair, or use a mechanical lift, mastering body mechanics and patient communication techniques without any risk of injury to themselves or, crucially, a real patient.
That's huge. Transfers can be risky.
Very risky. They can refine their vital sign assessment techniques in varied patient scenarios, maybe practicing on a virtual patient exhibiting subtle changes. They can practice intricate wound care procedures step by step, or even navigate complex, high-pressure patient situations, like responding to a sudden change in a virtual patient's condition, maybe a code blue scenario.
So they get to experience emergencies safely.
Exactly. This hands-on, risk-free practice is absolutely invaluable. It builds immense confidence and competence before they ever interact with a real patient in that situation. It helps reduce anxiety and ensures they are far better prepared for the unpredictable nature of real-world healthcare. It's a complete game changer for foundational training and ongoing competency validation, allowing for deliberate practice until mastery is truly achieved.
Practice makes perfect, but safely.
You got it. And this really raises an important question. How do we best prepare healthcare professionals, not just for routine tasks, but for those unpredictable high-stakes situations that require quick thinking and sound judgment under pressure?
Yeah, the things you can't really script.
Right. VR offers an unparalleled answer here, fostering adaptability and critical thinking far beyond what traditional classroom methods or even standard mannequin simulations can typically achieve. With scenario-based learning and VR simulations, CNAs can be dropped into complex patient situations that demand not just rote knowledge, but real critical thinking and problem-solving skills under simulated virtual pressure.
So it's not just about performing a task correctly.
No, it's about thinking on your feet. These aren't just isolated tasks. They're dynamic, evolving scenarios that are designed to mimic the unpredictability of actual patient care.
Like what?
For instance, a CNA might be presented with a virtual patient who suddenly becomes agitated and combative, or experiences an unexpected medical event like exhibiting signs of a stroke or having a sudden sharp drop in blood pressure. The simulation requires them to rapidly assess the situation, prioritize their actions, communicate effectively with virtual colleagues, like a nurse avatar, and make quick, informed decisions all in this controlled, consequence-free setting.
So they can make mistakes and learn.
Exactly. They can make mistakes, see the immediate consequences within the simulation, get feedback, learn from them instantly, and then try the scenario again, refining their approach without any harm coming to a real person. This repetitive practice in high-fidelity simulations helps CNAs develop crucial clinical judgment, refine their communication skills, especially under pressure, and build the ability to respond effectively and calmly when things go wrong.
Building muscle memory for decision-making.
That's a great way to put it. It's preparing them not just for the routine tasks, but for the unexpected challenges that are an inherent part of patient care, ultimately making them safer and more effective caregivers when they face those situations in reality.
That's incredibly valuable training. What about accessing this training? Is it only in special labs?
Well, that leads to another huge practical benefit of VR training, especially for a role like a CNA that requires so much hands-on skill development.
Yeah.
Its potential for unprecedented anytime, anywhere access.
Ah, so not tied to a physical location.
Potentially, no. Unlike traditional clinical rotations, which are hard to schedule and limited in availability, or even simulation labs that require physical presence and adherence to strict schedules, VR training modules can, in theory, be accessed remotely. All you might need is a compatible VR headset and a decent internet connection.
So they could train from home.
Or a local library. Or a community college resource center, yes. This offers incredible flexibility and convenience, both for students just starting their CNA journey and for currently working professionals who need to hone their skills, perhaps learn how to use a new piece of equipment being introduced, or meet continuing education requirements.
That removes a lot of barriers.
Huge barriers. They can practice and refine their techniques from various locations, often on their own schedule, without the geographical limitations or rigid scheduling barriers that might otherwise prevent them from accessing high-quality advanced training.
It really democratizes access to that state-of-the-art training.
It does. It ensures that more CNAs can continuously develop their expertise, stay current with evolving best practices, and adapt to new technologies as they roll out, no matter where they live or what their work schedule looks like. It removes significant hurdles to professional development and continuous learning, which ultimately benefits everyone by creating a more skilled and adaptable healthcare workforce.
Okay, so we've covered wearables, smart beds, EHRs, telehealth, AI, VR. It's a lot of technology. How does this all come together for the CNA role itself?
Yeah, it's crucial to synthesize this. The key takeaway, I think, is that the integration of all this innovation and technology is not about diminishing the CNA's role or making it less human or turning them into button pushers. It's fundamentally about elevating it to an entirely new level.
Elevating, not replacing.
Exactly. But this evolution fundamentally requires CNAs to embrace a new, expanded set of skills. They need to move beyond purely manual tasks to become more tech-savvy, more data-aware, and ultimately even more effective and more patient-centered than ever before. It's about empowering them to do more, do it better, and do it with greater insight.
So what does this all mean for someone maybe listening right now who's considering becoming a CNA or perhaps is already in the role and seeing these changes happen? What skills are becoming essential?
It means It's a really fascinating time to be in the role, honestly. And evolution is happening, and embracing these new competencies makes the job even more dynamic and impactful.
Okay, like what competencies?
Well, first and foremost, there's a clear need for technological proficiency, just a baseline comfort level. CNAs must become comfortable and competent in using a wide array of digital tools that could be tablets running the EHR software,
Hmm.
mobile apps used for team communication or receiving alerts, and understanding how to operate and troubleshoot at a basic level various healthcare technologies like smart beds, automated vital sign machines, or telehealth platforms.
So digital literacy is key.
It's foundational now. And it isn't just about knowing which buttons to click. It's about understanding how these tools fit into the overall workflow and, critically, how to maximize their utility for patient benefit and safety.
Right, using them effectively. What else?
Second, data literacy is becoming increasingly vital. It's not enough anymore to just see numbers on a screen or data points in a chart. CNAs need to develop a basic understanding of how to interpret and utilize the continuous stream of data coming from monitoring devices from the EHR and from other digital sources to actually inform their patient care decisions and observations.
So understanding what the numbers mean.
Yeah, in context. What does a downward trend in vital signs really tell you about this specific patient's stability right now? How does a sudden change in activity levels, flagged by a wearable device, inform your next action or what you report to the nurse? It's about connecting the data to the patient.
Gotcha. What's third?
Critical thinking. This is perhaps more important than ever. While technology provides floods of data and maybe even AI-driven suggestions in the future, CNAs still absolutely need to apply their foundational knowledge, their clinical judgment honed through experience, and their deep understanding of the individual patient to make informed decisions in this technology-assisted care environment.
The tech doesn't replace their brain.
Not at all. They are the ones on the ground at the bedside connecting all those data points to the actual human being in front of them, observing things the tech can't see, like facial expressions or skin color changes. And finally, maybe overarching all of this is adaptability.
Being ready for change.
Exactly. The pace of technological change in healthcare is only accelerating. It's not going to slow down. This means CNAs must remain open to continuous learning, constantly adapting to new tools, new software updates, new workflows, and entirely new ways of delivering care as technology continues to evolve. It requires a mindset of lifelong learning.
It sounds like an exciting, dynamic, and definitely intellectually stimulating field to be a part of now, maybe more than ever.
I truly believe it is. It's demanding, but also incredibly rewarding in new ways.
Mm.
But ultimately, and this is the foundational truth that we must always come back to,
Yes.
no amount of technology, no matter how sophisticated, can replace that fundamental human touch, that deep compassion, that empathy, that ability to form a personal connection that truly defines nursing care at its core.
Technology is here to support it, not supplant it. You said that earlier, and it bears repeating.
Absolutely. While technology automates tasks, streamlines processes, provides invaluable insights through data that were once impossible to obtain routinely, the very core of the CNA's role remains unchanged. Their compassion, their empathy, their ability to provide comfort, to listen patiently, to observe with a skilled human eye, and that irreplaceable human connection that remains the bedrock of quality patient care.
Things machines can't do.
Exactly. It's the unique human ability to truly connect on an emotional level, to offer solace during times of fear or pain, and to understand the nuanced emotional and psychological needs of a patient that technology, at least as we know it, simply cannot replicate.
Mm-hmm.
So the overall vision, the optimistic vision for the future of patient care, is one where technology acts as a powerful enabler. It's there to empower CNAs, to free them up, to allow them to provide care that is not only of higher quality and more efficient, but genuinely more patient-centered.
Yeah.
It should allow for deeper, more meaningful interactions.
Less time charting, more time caring.
That's the ideal, yes. It allows them to spend less time on those administrative burdens and more time on those crucial, meaningful interactions that truly make a difference in a patient's healing journey and their overall sense of well-being, especially during vulnerable times in an ever-evolving, complex healthcare landscape.
So technology is like the hand that lifts them up.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It allows them to better extend their own hands, literally and figuratively, to those in need. It solidifies their role as essential human anchors in what can sometimes feel like an increasingly high-tech, sometimes impersonal care environment.
What an incredible deep dive this has been into the evolving world of CNA care. Wow. We've really seen how technology is truly transforming and empowering CNAs across the board.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. From advanced monitoring devices giving those real-time proactive insights to digital documentation completely streamlining workflows to telehealth extending that compassionate reach right into patients' homes. And even looking ahead at cutting-edge AI and VR revolutionizing training and potentially daily tasks. It's just abundantly clear, isn't it, that technology isn't taking over. It's acting as this incredibly powerful enabler,
Yeah, cool.
making care more efficient, yes, more precise, definitely, but ultimately profoundly more patient-centered if we use it right. The human element, far from being diminished, really seems elevated and amplified by all this.
That's certainly the goal and the potential. But it leads to a final thought, perhaps. This raises an important question, I think, for you, for everyone listening, to maybe ponder long after this deep dive is over.
Okay, leave us with something to think about.
As technology continues to evolve at this breakneck speed, reshaping not just healthcare, but so many aspects of our daily lives, how will we as a society, as healthcare professionals, as patients ourselves, ensure that the profound human connection remains central?
The empathy, the compassion.
Exactly. That shared humanity, which is the bedrock of all patient care. How do we make sure that remains at the absolute forefront? Even as machines, AI, become incredibly adept at assisting in the background, performing tasks, analyzing data,
Yeah.
what new ethical considerations might arise as these technologies, like AI with its predictive power or VR with its immersive simulations, become even more deeply embedded in this inherently human-centric field of nursing?
Balancing the tech and the touch.
Precisely. It's a fascinating and critical balance we will constantly be navigating. We need to ensure technology always serves humanity, serves the patient, serves the caregiver, and not the other way around.
Absolutely. Fascinating and truly vital questions to consider as we all move forward into this tech-enabled future of care. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise today. This has been incredibly insightful.
My pleasure. It's an important conversation to have.
It really is. And thank you, our listeners, for joining us on this deep dive into innovation and technology in patient care. We really encourage you to keep exploring this incredible intersection of technology and compassion, and maybe even consider the vital transformative role of CNAs yourself. Until next time, stay curious.